You were there. You lived it. Every single day of your first 3 years of life happened to you, and you remember absolutely none of it. Not your first steps, not your first word, not the face of whoever held you first. Gone. As if those years belonged to someone else entirely. This isn't a memory problem, and the real reason it happens is far stranger than you think. Here's what's actually happening. Your first memories don't disappear. They never properly form in the first place. And understanding why reveals something remarkable about what memory actually is and what your brain was secretly building during those forgotten years. Psychologist Sigmund Freud was the first to name this phenomenon, calling it infantile amnesia in the early 1900s. He assumed it was about repression, that early memories were too emotionally overwhelming to keep. He was wrong. But he asked the right question. The real answer starts with a tiny structure deep in your brain called the hippocampus. This is your brain's memory filing system. Every experience you want to keep gets routed through the hippocampus, tagged, organized, and stored for later retrieval. Without it, nothing sticks. Here's the problem. When you were born, your hippocampus was not finished. It was still being built. New neurons were generating at a staggering rate, a process called neurogenesis, and that constant construction actually interfered with the filing system. Imagine trying to retrieve a document from a library while the library is simultaneously being renovated, all the shelves are moving, and new rooms are being added every day. The filing happens. But by the time you go back to find the file, everything has been reorganized and the old address no longer exists. Researcher Paul Frankland at the Hospital for Sick Children in Toronto has studied this process extensively. His work showed that the very neurogenesis that makes young brains so remarkably adaptable and fast-learning is the same process that overwrites early memories. The brain isn't choosing to forget. It's growing too fast to remember. But there's a second reason, and this one is even more interesting. Memory isn't just about storage, it's about language. Think about how you remember things. You don't remember raw sensory experience, you remember a story. You describe it to yourself. You narrate it. Your memories are built in words, structured in the language you speak, organized by the concepts your culture gave you. A 3-year-old doesn't have those words yet. A 3-year-old doesn't have the conceptual framework to narrate experience to themselves. So even when something is experienced, even when it feels significant, there is no internal narrator to encode it as a retrievable story. The experience washes over the child like water, vivid in the moment, gone when the moment passes. Researcher Wang at Cornell University has found fascinating cross-cultural evidence for this. Children in cultures with strong storytelling traditions, where parents regularly narrate experiences back to children, where "remember when we did this" is a daily ritual, develop earlier and richer autobiographical memories than children in cultures where personal history is less frequently verbalized. The stories you are told about yourself become the memories you keep. Memory is, at least partly, a social construction. So here's the strange truth. You don't remember your early childhood, not because nothing was happening. Everything was happening. An extraordinary amount was happening. You were learning to see, to hear, to understand faces, to interpret tone of voice, to connect sounds with meaning, to walk, to reach, to predict. Your brain was making more new connections in those 3 years than it will make in the rest of your entire life combined. You were learning everything. You just couldn't write it down. And those years didn't disappear. They are still in you, in your body, in your reflexes, in the deepest assumptions you make about whether the world is safe or unsafe, whether people can be trusted, whether you are loved. The psychologist Daniel Stern called this implicit memory, knowledge that lives in behavior rather than in narrative, in instinct rather than in story. You can't remember your mother's face from when you were 2, but your nervous system remembers exactly how it felt to be held by her. That memory lives in you. It just doesn't come with words attached. So the next time you try to reach back into those early years and find nothing, know that the nothing is not emptiness. It's a library written in a language you no longer speak, and it built everything you are.